So let me just start by saying good evening to distinguished gentlemen from St. Lucia who have served as cadet officers before. And at the moment, the Cadet Corps needs all the help it can get from all walks of life, from government, from our past cadets. And there's a new initiative being sought out from a few cadets who based outside St. Lucia, where they're trying to assist the St. Lucia Cadet Corps. But I'm not going to be the one to rat them out this evening. What I want to do is to allow them to actually launch it out and deliberate on it and tell us what it's all about. So let me just introduce my guest to you. First being retired Captain Romeo Michel, and the other being Vern Nelson. Now, Vern, I've got to be honest with you, I forgot your rank. You know, there's been so many. Whenever I look at you, I see your father, and I figure, do I say commissioner? So I'll allow you to introduce yourself one by one.
My name is Vern Nelson. I left the St. Lucia Cadet Corps at the rank of a lieutenant, and that was in 2004. So that's just my rank and the time that I left the St. Lucia Cadet Corps.
Okay. And I am retired Captain Mitchell. I joined the Cadet Corps back in 1992. It was the second term at St. Mary's College. In fact, during that time, cadets were enlisted. It wasn't a case where you just simply volunteered. You were enlisted. The cadet commandant, or in fact, at that time, it was the cadet commandant that spoke to my dad. And my dad said, absolutely, I presume. I wasn't around. Then he came into the form and he said, you've been enlisted into the Cadet Corps. And that was the end of the story. I actually wanted to join Sea Scouts and not cadetting. But I had to live with the decision, or I had to live with the order, etc. And since then, I went through several ranks from that point onwards. But at the time, the training was basic, Army proficiency, and advanced training. That was the type of training that was done at the time. I am sure it is similar to the training that's being done today, but with different titles. I did my basic training in St. Lucia in the year 72. In 1973, I went to St. Vincent and I did my Army proficiency there. We were trained by two staff sergeants from the Guyanese Defense Force, Staff Sergeant Beckles and Staff Sergeant Supersard. The reason why I remember their names, after going through that training, you will never forget the name of the officers, or because they were NCOs, they were non-commissioned officers, they were staff sergeants, but they were very, very strict, rigid, and so on. Then in 1975, a number of us went over to Dominica, where I did my advanced training with the Dominican Defense Force. That was another interesting experience. And, I was a troublesome sergeant at the time. In fact, I was promoted to the rank of sergeant. I believe it was in 74. And after that, after returning from Dominica, in fact, I'll talk more about it. But after returning from Dominica as a private, I was promoted, back to the rank of sergeant, and I continued at the rank of sergeant until I think it was the same year I was promoted to the rank of CSM, Company Sergeant Major, a few months later, and I completed my studies at St. Mary's in 76. And what happened after that experience in 1976, I was promoted to the rank of RSM. RSM, prior to me, it was Allison Lawrence. Prior to Allison Lawrence, it was Major, I believe, Major James Smith. And but at the time, the progression. I remained as an RSM until 1979 when I went to Jamaica to study, although many of the cadets thought that I was in St. Lucia all the time, because every time I came down, I made sure that I participated. As a matter of fact, one of my pivotal experiences was the hurricane in 1980, where I actually spent about 2 weeks with the Venezuelan army purifying water in the cul-de-sac Valley. Now, I'm not going to debate with Lieutenant Verne, because he said to me I was an officer on the office at some point, but I don't recall ever being an under officer, because I believe I was promoted from RSM to second lieutenant, either acting second lieutenant or second lieutenant, one or the other. So I never went through being an under officer necessarily, but he remembers me as an under officer, so I'm not going to mess with his memories. So throughout the time, in fact, between my stint in Jamaica and 1984, both yourself, Major Saltibus, and Verne remember my approach to cadetting. And I had certain principles that I maintained, etc. And in 1974, I basically led the contingent of officers that went to Barbados on the first officers training with the Barbados Defense Force. I carried the rank of second lieutenant. All of the other folks, with the exception of RSM Marquis, carried the rank of under officers. And it was a very, very, fantastic experience. My memory says to me that we spent about 4 weeks on that training. When I went over, I was about 140 pounds. When I came back, I was 165, but that's another history. And then I left for the UK in 84, September of 84. And I spent time with, while studying, I spent approximately a year on the last year of my bachelor's with the Canadian Cadet Forces, attached to a particular unit as a lieutenant, because I was promoted to the rank of lieutenant. In fact, before I left, and when I came back, I came down in 85, we were given ID cards, and I used the ID card as the official representation of my rank, etc. Coming back to St. Lucia in 88, I was then promoted to the rank of captain, and I remained as captain and adjutant for the Cadet Corps until 1991 December, when I immigrated to the UK, to Canada. So that's my, I would say, my experience through the Cadet Corps, approximately 20 years of cadetting experience.
Can be a good introduction to a well-written book that you really should put together, as we proceed. Y'all did have me join a group a long time ago, and it was titled the Alumni. And, great initiative. And I said, whoa, those guys are, really, thinking ahead of the curve. Hearing about it just online all the time and talking about it, I know thus far you all have actually attempted to get some more members on board. You all have seek the permission of the commandant to go ahead. So let's talk a little bit about the formation of the alumni, what it's all about, and we're going to speak about how it progresses thus far and thereafter.
Okay, so the idea of the alumni is really, I give Verne credit for it, because he was the one that contacted me, and he said, "Hey, why don't we start an alumni?" So credit goes to the person that comes up with the idea and is pushing the idea. And he insisted. I mean, he used his rank on me to insist that I have to participate. I think he was probably illusional at the time, because he didn't realize that I outranked him, So, but I allowed him I humbly, accepted his idea and so on. Now, to date, we have quite a few folks that are interested, both in St. Lucia, as a few folks in St. Lucia, as well as folks that are outside of St. Lucia. And the idea is to tap into as broad an audience of ex-cadets and ex-officers from St. Lucia and the wider world to be part of this alumni and to do a number of things. So this is how we started. It was, in fact, the conversation started about a year ago, to be precise, or a little over a year ago. And we know that certain things take time to mature, etc. So, yeah.
What qualifies anybody to be a member of this Cadet Corps alumni? I mean, I'm an ex-cadet, or I'm interested, or I'm an ex-soldier, ex-police. You know, what group do I have to fall in to be a member of the newly formed, soon to be registered alumni?
That's a very good question. Basically, we keep it fairly straightforward. You have to either be an ex-cadet, meaning you've been through the Cadet Corps as a cadet, or as an officer of the St. Lucia Cadet Corps, because not every officer of the St. Lucia Cadet Corps went through cadetting from the grassroots, especially those that were recruited as teachers, etc. There are examples that some folks may know about. For example, Mr. Lambert was an example of a teacher that became an officer in the Cadet Corps. And there are others, like my cousin Eugene. He, again, was never a cadet, but he was brought in as an officer because he was at a secondary school and we needed that contact. So number one, you are an ex-cadet, meaning you went through the Cadet Corps, whether it's 1 year, 3 years, etc., or you were an officer in the Cadet Corps, either from grassroots, from growing up, right, or you were brought in as a teacher. That's the criteria. You cannot become a member of the alumni if you belong to other organizations and not the Cadet Corps.
Right, good stuff. Vaughn, let me just throw one at you. Who will the alumni represent? Is it representing the St. Lucia Cadet Corps? Does the alumni represent itself? Is it working just for the best interests to promote the ex-cadets who form the alumni? Or is it a support group for cadets? What is the thinking and what direction we're going in?
So the question is spot on with regards to how this organization is envisioned to function. Primarily, we are there to support the St. Lucia Cadet Corps, and using the fact that many of the former cadets are spread all over the diaspora, it's a situation where we can use the network formed by these individuals to offer support in whatever way the St. Lucia Cadet Corps deems necessary. So in a nutshell, we are more or less working on the guidance of the St. Lucia Cadet Corps as represented by the commandant at the time.
Good stuff. What is the mandated vision? What are some of the goals? What do you see the alumni doing for cadetting, for the St. Lucia Cadet Corps, for the young boys and girls at school?
Captain Mitchell, do you want to answer, or should I answer that one?
Well,
you can go ahead. I've been doing a lot of the talking. I think you should.
No problem. So the vision is really to offer support, because as Captain Mitchell was describing his journey through the Cadet Corps, it reminded me of the sort of influence that persons like himself, as well as yourself, Major Saltibus, Lieutenant Colonel Hyacinth, Lieutenant Colonel Lake, Colonel Hyacinth, all of these people had different influences on my life. And my initial prompting was, if those people have had an influence and have somehow found themselves outside of the Cadet Corps itself, then there's a potential that a lot of that might be lost. So the mandate is really to try to work with the St. Lucia Cadet Corps to provide resources. And those resources could be physical resources like uniforms, equipment, and so forth. It could be assistance with regards to sourcing things or making contacts overseas, as well as, of course, being present to assist with things like camps and other things like that, in terms of just being personnel to speak on those occasions. We have different levels of expertise, whether it be technical, vocational, teacher, administrative. So if there is a need for us while we might be on island or otherwise to use those things for the benefit of the Cadet Corps, then that's all well and good. More importantly, our overall function is what can we do now that we are no longer directly involved with the Cadet Corps to support the cadets? Our overall mission is doing things to help the cadets because we know of the challenges that exist for young people, whether it be different avenues like sports or other hobbies, other pastimes. And of course, there's an issue of delinquents as well. So by providing that additional support, we're hoping that the St. Lucia Cadet Corps can grow and be well resourced by our efforts as an alumni organization.
In other words,
And if I could,
been given. Go ahead, Captain.
yeah, if I could add to what Vern said, and specifically touch on the aspect of vocational experiences, because many of the ex-cadets that are aspiring to be part of the alumni, they possess certain skills, certain knowledge, right? They are professionals in their own right. And in reality, the young people that are cadets, the young boys and girls, they have aspirations as well. They may have career aspirations, etc. So those are some of the things that the alumni could do is, we might hold a career talk. And that career talk, the mere fact that we are from the cloth, the Cadet Corps itself, talking about nursing, talking about, medicine, talking about project management, for example, my profession, would help them aspire to something positive beyond just cadetting, right? So it would help with that, what I would call career guidance, etc. But there are other initiatives that we can do as well, working with, for example, the Cadet Corps just recently acquired or obtained a headquarters, right? We believe that the alumni can play a part in helping the headquarters, both in terms of, helping to raise funds to modernize it, etc. But at the same time, tapping into some of the resources that we already have, the skills from various alumni members that may be based in St. Lucia that might say, hey, I can come and build the cupboards. I can come and put the security system. I can do the electrical work, etc., right? Because that is their profession. So those type of opportunities may exist as well. But more so, there is one point that I want to make before I hand back to you is, I ask, for us to have an opportunity to set up an alumni library at the headquarters. And what that alumni library would do, it would help us build an historical image of the Cadet Corps. So, for example, how many cadets went through the rank of adjutant? So you would have a board that shows the adjutants. How many officers were training officers, right? Were unit commanders, and you can build up that historical image. And that could become part of the learning of the cadets as well, because they can see that there is history and growth.
Yeah, even I mean, one of the most honored positions you have is that of aide de camp to the Governor General's. I mean, right now it's been
yes, exactly,
and a lot of us have gone through that position. Some of us have served in that position twice.
Correct.
So
in fact, as you mentioned, that Errol Walker, who was once the commanding officer of the Cadet Corps, was an aide de camp as well.
Right. So you'd have him,
Right.
Roger Eudoxie, Major Albert. Major Saltibus, that's myself.
Yeah.
You have Major Uranus Delaire. Now you have, I think, Captain, I forgot his name, I think Captain Charles. So yeah, there's about 6, 7 of us who have gone through that prestigious rank, not rank rather, but appointment. And yeah, those stories can be told, you know, and even inserted into the new magazine I'm working on is, you know, meeting the royals. How, you know, a page just devoted to that. So that, you know, that's nice. Where will the alumni be registered? In the diaspora? Will it be a locally registered group? And how does one become a member? Do I just raise my hand and say, hey, I want to become a member? Or do I fill a form? Will I go through some due diligence of a background check and make sure that I have a clean police record and I am not wanting with any tax evasion laws or stuff like that, and make sure I'm in good standing? Where we are with this?
Okay, so the Constitution and bylaw is currently being drafted, and that's a very good question. From the perspective of registration, the alumni is intended to be registered in St. Lucia because it's a St. Lucia Cadet Corps. And secondly, anything that has to do with the finance of the alumni, it will be done in St. Lucia, and it will be done using the currency of St. Lucia. Because alumni, we have alumni that would be in Germany, in Europe, in the UK, in Canada, in the US. All of those countries have different currencies and different exchange rates, but it's really about St. Lucia. All right. The other question you ask is, how would one become an alumni? Well, we are proposing to have a certificate of acknowledgement. And that certificate of acknowledgement will be first, before it's issued, that individual will have to be validated by the Cadet Corps as being an ex-cadet. So one of the signatures on the certificate will be the commanding officer of the St. Lucia Cadet Corps. The second signature on the certificate will be the president of the alumni. So you have validation and you have entry. And for the purpose of record keeping, the executive secretary of the alumni will be the third signature on that certificate. So it means that we have all 3 points covered. We have validation that this person was a member of the St. Lucia Cadet Corps in whatever capacity. Second, that they have been accepted into the alumni. And third, it's been made a permanent record of the alumni by the secretary, the executive secretary of the alumni. In terms of person's character, right? Okay. The reality is, an ex-cadet, an ex-officer is an ex-cadet, an ex-officer. So we cannot discriminate against someone, right, that has the person had a criminal record. They served their time, right? So
Good.
it's not a case of saying, unless that person had how should I put it, a dishonorable discharge from the Cadet Corps. That's the only factor that would probably be considered should this person become an alumni, because they were a disgrace to the Cadet Corps, right? And would they be welcomed back into the Cadet Corps, right? Because the reality is any of us can be welcomed back into the Cadet Corps, right? Okay, provided we meet the age criteria or whatever the criteria is, right? However, if you cannot be an alumni and an active member of the Cadet Corps.
Oh, I hate that. I just hate that because I'm trying. Oh, wow. How do I fit in?
Don't worry. We have plans for you.
Okay.
We'll keep it a secret at the moment.
Yeah. What are some of the? I know. When are you looking to launch the alumni officially? I know now you're going for maybe the whole process of getting the paperwork settled and stuff like that. But are we looking at? I know the Cadet Corps is celebrating its 95th. And it's 95th anniversary. That's what this show is all about. I would have been really, it'd been really nice for us to, for y'all to launch this things during this period. We are celebrating our 100th in 5 years time, and I'm hoping the alumni can be 5 years old, and at that point. But when are you thinking of launching officially?
Do you want to take that one, Vern?
Yeah, so the official launch we had initially proposed was to coincide with the anniversary of July 13th, but we are considering that there is supposed to be a parade, annual parade happening at the end of July, or at the end of summer camp, one of the two, and we were thinking of using that as an opportune time to do it, either or. So we haven't finalized yet, and it might just be the case because we haven't completed things like the registration and have a finalized constitution that we might choose the latter date, which would be at the end of that parade or during that parade.
Yeah.
Right.
If I could add to that, the registration is not a precursor to the launch. What is important is to establish the organization, because to register, you need to have an organization already established based on the documents that were provided for registration in St. Lucia. So the intent here is to, between now and the end of July, to hold an initial meeting. It may be a very small group, probably 10, probably 12, but we start with a small group, and that small group would become the charter group of the alumni, and they would be issued certificates to the effect that says you're a chartered member of the alumni, right? In other words, it's almost saying a founding member, but
Correct.
It's when it was chartered. And perhaps several months later, once the group has established its bank account, et cetera, with the various roles such as, president, vice president, executive secretary, assistant secretary, PRO, et cetera, including a liaison officer between the alumni and the St. Lucia Cadet Corps, who does not have to be an alumni, because we need to have that bridge, right? That would basically constitute the alumni executive, right? The liaison officer would be an ex officio, in other words, not a voting member of the alumni, but would function in that capacity as the bridge, et cetera. So everything Vern said, towards the end, to coincide with the summer camp parade, et cetera. Call it a soft launch, right?
Yeah.
Call it a hard launch, but that is when we will say, hey guys, we do have this organization in motion, and we would build from there.
Correct.
I've heard, I know people like Bethelina Atkins. I'm hearing that they're sponsoring a few cadets for summer camp. Some others are saying, hey, I'm going to pay for dinner for a few of the officers who wants to go to the official 95 celebration dinner, because some of us can't afford it. What are some of the immediate projects you see the alumni, grabbing onto almost immediately after the launch?
Yeah. Well, even before the launch, one of the things that we spoke about is sponsoring cadets for the cadet camp. There is one gentleman that said he's been doing it, right, on an annual basis. Vern would be in a better position to say his name, but the intent here, he said, look, I would like to open this and make it an alumni initiative, and we spoke about that. And the intent is those funds would be channeled to an individual in St. Lucia to deal with the process of sponsorship, etc. And we would basically use the same criterion that gentleman, that potential alumni has been using. But we are indeed grateful that he was able to say, look, I've been doing this for a couple of years or etc., and I'm willing to make it an alumni initiative and not his initiative at this point. Not many people would do that because it's basically taking the credit away from him and handing the credit over to the alumni. So we're absolutely grateful. So what's the gentleman's name? I think it's important we mention his
Yeah, so just to piggyback off of that, so the gentleman's name is Matthias Wilkie. So he was a CSM in the Cadet Corps, then he migrated to the US, became a Marine, and he still finds ways of giving back to the Cadet Corps. And part of what he's doing is exactly how the alumni will function, because it's not a case where the individuals need to be in the Cadet Corps in St. Lucia, but the ideas come from different areas or different things that we are involved in. So Matthias had been involved in other things and he saw the need for the cadet, and we can now take that on board as an alumni association and say we can start using this to promote what we want to do, which is really helping the cadets. So yeah, so Matthias Wilkie is his name.
Yeah. So I'm a retired cadet. I'm now a member of the alumni. I land at Hironori International Airport. I'm carrying a pin somewhere on my collar saying member of the alumni. What are the kind of benefits? Not benefits, but hey, do I get invited to officers' dinners? Do I get, do I get invited to a function at Government House? Do I get put on the president's list of the country? What are some of the benefits you think that one can gain from just being a member of the alumni?
Now that's a very good question as well. Keep in mind that you have folks that are that never made it to an officer's rank, right?
Yeah.
You have folks that made it to an NCO's rank or sergeant rank, etc. What we would have to do is encourage the Cadet Corps to, for example, they may have a sergeant's event, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if that alumni used to be a sergeant or an adult warrant officer, they would be invited to, if it's a dinner, if it's a specific function. And the same thing would apply for officers' dinner, right? Because I think it would be respectful, right, if any of the officers from the rank of second lieutenant up, right, that are in St. Lucia, if there is an event, right, should be invited to that event to be there, right, etc. Because it shows the appreciation for their service, one, but at the same time, it shows the ongoing camaraderie that exists. It would be unfortunate if, let's say, someone like Major, I believe it was either Captain Glass or Major Glass. I'm not sure what his rank was when he left because I was gone already. But he was one of the commandants of the St. Lucia Cadet Corps, right? If he's in St. Lucia and there's a function going on and, he's an alumni, right? Registered alumni, and that is not recognized, I think that would be unfortunate.
Correct.
Yeah.
So just to add a little to that, I think once we get a lot of things formalized with the partnership with St. Lucia Cadet Corps and the Alumni Association, that would be a little easier to conceptualize, because right now it would be more or less under the proviso of the executive of SLCC to decide where we might be invited or not. But we would probably want to put something in place that is a little clearer for everybody.
Yeah.
Well, I'm already seeing the alumni having their own annual, dinner,
Correct.
to raise funds for the
Correct.
St. Lucia Cadet Corps, stuff like that. And it can even be based overseas in the diaspora.
Correct.
Some
Correct.
of us wouldn't mind. I can see the commandant of the St. Lucia Cadet Corps and a few officers who can do it flying up to Canada, to Washington, wherever we have
Right.
the majority of the alumni, and sitting and having a grand dinner fundraiser that can help out the Alumni Association as they assist the St. Lucia Cadet Corps, by extension. So yeah, those are. Let me thank you all for for a great initiative. I think it might be one of the first in the cadet corps in the Caribbean. I'm hoping that the others are pursuing that. I heard the commandant said, I think that some of them are looking at it, and I don't know if they've started. but I think credit should be given to both of you and those officers who are involved in it. And I know a lot of officers, Marvin Dolor, who actually comes to St. Lucia on a religious program, rather, to help out libraries. I know Major Albert in the UK, who comes down to assist the St. Lucia National Trust with event management and fundraisers. There's a lot. I mean, there's Peterson, ex-soldier, ex-cadet, who I know can come down and make a big difference. A big difference. I mean, we have lawyers, we have ex-prime ministers,
Right.
we have Mario Michel, we have ex-cadet. There's a lot of people. I think if we tap them the right way, I think I can just see a whole new level of assistance coming to the St. Lucia Cadet Corps, and by extension, the young boys and girls. And I think a lot of that is lost. A lot of us officers fail to remember that the whole reason why we're here is to nurture those young boys, those young minds, young boys and young girls, and
Right.
that's who we are today. That's the Vern Nelson you're talking about, who was a young
Correct.
boy. That's the Mario. That's the Glass you're talking about. We were cadets once, and we can now look down and say, I'm proud of that. I'm proud of saying that the cadet corps made me who I am today. I don't care. Some may differ, and some may say their schooling or their parents. Cadet Corps had a lot to do with who I am today, and I'm proud of that. So when you have an organization like what has just been proposed right now, soon to be launched, I can see a lot happening, for the young boys and girls of St. Lucia. So time is running out. Your final thoughts from both of you on how you see the alumni, launching, moving forward, and your recruiting drive, because I know there are cadets all over the world right now.
Yeah, I think the two significant things. One, recognizing that an individual is an alumni, meaning a formal recognition of that individual through the certificate and the pin. That is a positive thing. We're also talking about the aspect of membership dues, because the reality is the membership dues in any organization, membership dues administer the organization. And if there is surplus within the membership dues, those surpluses can go towards supporting the St. Lucia Cadet Corps. And as I said before, it's will be based on the Eastern Caribbean currency. In terms of the vision, I maintain that there are more alumni out there than the current size of the Cadet Corps. So if we can tap in to as many alumni as possible, just imagine that each alumni says, I'm going to donate $20, right, to providing uniforms. And we have 500 alumni, right? Do the math.
Yeah.
Okay. It becomes technically easy, right? Now, it could be 20 Canadian, 20 US, 20 EC, right? 20 European currency, whatever it is, right? In their local currency. And what it will do, it will level out itself. It's not about, I'm donating 20 to buy one t-shirt. No, I'm just donating 20 Canadian. When you bring it all together. So there is that vision. And I think the bigger vision is to really see what we can do to support the St. Lucia Cadet Corps so that it becomes such a significant organization. Because if we begin to have ex-prime ministers talking on behalf of the Cadet Corps, if we begin to have medical professionals, if we begin to have lawyers, if we begin to have professional educators, if we begin to have, folks that, really talking about the Cadet Corps and its growth, right? It will change the dynamics of the organization, right? And one of the things is to make to continue to reinforce the foundation of the discipline of the Cadet Corps as it supports the young girls and young boys.
Bert,
So
your
my
thoughts?
so my final contribution would be to just use the phrase that it takes a village to raise a child, and I see the Alumni Association as being the elders in the village who have gone through the system of the St. Lucia Cadet Corps, and whatever we can do to support the young cadets in start getting a bit of vision for themselves. Because all we're doing is supporting, we're not kind of directing them. That's kind of our main role. And hopefully, by the examples that we lead, by the sort of stories that we tell, it will encourage more people to be part of the organization.
Yeah.
Great. Well, gentlemen, I don't want to wish y'all all the best. I want to wish the cadet corps and the young boys and girls all the best by the initiative that y'all have given birth to today and beyond. And I mean, a great initiative. I just hope that, and I don't think it's not even a hope. I know most of our ex-cadets would gravitate towards being a member of this organization. You know, I can't wait to retire to have my own, to wear my own alumni pin. You understand? So it's a great initiative. Let me thank you all on behalf of all the young boys and girls in the Ministry of Education where we're housed for this great initiative. I think it is something that is going to be very beneficial to the Ministry of Education itself, to the schools, and to parents who really cannot afford to meet the needs of all the cadets, and also to ourselves. Let me start including myself in this whole process, because I'm getting, as we get older, retire. And I think it is, I would like to bring you all back, and after the celebrations, if we can get some more funding for the show, so we can start talking. Maybe a good Zoom chat with all our members who are just on listening and want to ask a question and want to contribute, and so the young kids can see who's behind this great initiative and the amount of men and women out there in the diaspora that are there willing to support them, so they can go in a good direction. So once again, gentlemen, let me thank you all. I mean, great initiative. I can never forget my time on the parade square with Captain Romeo Michel. I mean, when he said it's coming down, some of us trembled a little bit, but it was appreciated because we learned something. Vern, you've always been a friend. You've always been a colleague. And I must say, even during a personal touch there, during my downtime, you were one of the guys who always supported me, telling me hold strong. And I was one of those persons when we were talking about police record. And if you have if you are dismissed, I was once charged by the St. Lucia Cadet Corps, and it took a couple of years to find me not guilty of any charges at all, because I was following the direction of one person while another person was complaining. So it's good sometimes to go through the process of knowing that, and as you said, it's not because somebody has a record that he can't be a member of the alumni. As long as you've done your time, or you've been told that nothing you did was actually wrong, then you move on. So those are good times, and I must admit, it was some precious moments, in the past, and I wish we can go and relive some of them, especially the time spent with, just a little joke that I can never forget the weekend after, the captain here came back from Barbados. Those guys treated us like, my God, recruits from any regular army. They came back with this, I don't know what Barbados did to them, but they really treated us, to some good, fun at Casa Bar and college. It was really nice, and it's nice to know that we can relive those moments through the alumni that will be formed. So once again, gentlemen, thank you. Let me just let you all say personal greetings to your families before we close.
Yeah. At this point, I would like to say hello to my brother. He is an ex-cadet from Castries Comprehensive, and I've been speaking with him about how he could potentially support the alumni and support the initiatives that's happening in St. Lucia. I'm sure, he will use his vocation to attempt to support some of the stuff. I have a few sisters in St. Lucia as well, and any other person that remembers me, such as your brother. I would like to say, a warm hello to your brother, because he and I have always been close, yet so far, right, etc. And all those that may be in St. Lucia that went to Barbados together with me, such as Alvin James, etc., and any other folks that may be around. Andrew Alcid, Alfred Prosper. I can keep going and going with names. There's Kalai Octave. I don't know whether he's still around in St. Lucia. So there are quite a few guys that were there around my time. So thank you very much. Saying hello to them.
Vern, you've got the final good night.
The final good night. So my good night would start off with my father, former Commissioner of Police, Francis Nelson, because that was the initial model that I followed for what I would like to look like when I went to secondary school. And I'm grateful for himself and all the other people who acted as father figures for me. So that would be Captain Mitchell, yourself, Major Saltibus, and former commandants, Alvin James, all of those people who were surrogate parents, especially when we went on camps. And of course, my mother, who was just as supportive of me, making sure that I had my snacks and everything packed for my night outs and camps and other things like that. So I just want to thank those two in particular, and by extension, all the people who end up acting as parents, especially the officers, when we do go on camps and have functions for the cadets.
So now we know, Major Saltibus, now we know that when we were denying him snacks, he had his little snatch packed away.
In the bags.
And and that's the reason why he did not look exhausted like everyone else. He had a little secret snatch.
Things we can talk about now, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, we would have opened up the lines to have you communicate with our guests, but we're out of time. We spent an entire hour, which is good stuff, actually. It was really worth it. So the next time when I do bring them back, and we will open up the lines so we can have an open discussion about the alumni, about the experience, and about the future of this entire organization, both the St. Lucia Cadet Corps and the alumni going forward. Thanks again. See you next week as we celebrate 95 years as a strong organization. Good evening, everybody, and thanks for viewing.